Okay. First, thank you very much, everyone, for joining this workshop. We'll be talking about uh, using GitLab from idea to production. That means for your entire development life cycle, right? From you having an idea you want to work on, right to getting your idea deployed on production. We'll be looking at the different workflows you can use within GitLab and some of the processes that you can leverage on GitLab that will make your work and life much more easier. Yeah, like Francisca shared the other time, I am Abubakar Siddiq Ango. I'm a developer evangelist, program manager at GitLab. Before uh, before becoming a developer evangelism program manager, I was a support engineer at GitLab. I joined GitLab 2016. And in my previous role, I was mainly supporting our enterprise users, helping them resolve issues, especially around Kubernetes and other problems that they might have. So in this session, we'll be looking at briefly about GitLab itself. I'm sure some of you might already be aware about the company and so on. And in my discussions with Francisca, she mentioned that I shouldn't come with any assumption about the attendees knowing anything. So I should try to be as explanatory and expressive as possible in sharing all the things I will share in this session. So I'll be going through what we call the GitLab flow of working, then the GitLab workflow, and also do a demo of what we call idea to production using one of GitLab's prominent feature called Autodevops. And I'm aware that almost all of us already have our Google Cloud account set up. So in the demo, we'll be seeing how you can, with just a push or even for a fresh project, you can enable a Kubernetes cluster and deploy your code as easy as possible. So we'll be seeing that in the demo. Okay, now briefly, GitLab is a fully remote company. I think we are currently close to 1,400 employees working in different parts of the world. I joined from Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria, so then moved to the Netherlands after 2 years working with GitLab. And I, I joined when the company was still around 100 people. That's in 2016. And now I've seen the company grow to 1,300, and we are scattered all over the globe. We only meet physically maybe during certain offsites or when the company as a whole itself organizes offsite. We were supposed to meet in Prague last year, but COVID happened, and hopefully we'll meet physically soon, maybe in the Netherlands, so that we can meet all of you wonderful people in our community. Yeah, so basically GitLab operates a license that we call open core. We have our open source version, which anyone can contribute to and see how the code works. Then we have the enterprise version that we provide to companies, enterprises, that for them to install in the on-premise within their own private network. And those who don't necessarily want to maintain their own infrastructure can use our SaaS version, which is on gitlab.com. So those are the two versions. Even if you want to install it on premise, you can decide to use the open core version, which is you can freely install and use as you wish, or you buy the enterprise license, which gives you much more functionality. And one of the beautiful things about GitLab since inception is on the 22nd of every month, there are new versions. We always call it the best release ever, because every month new features, new awesome contributions from the community go out for everyone to benefit from. And GitLab promotes what we call a single source of truth. Instead of, as a company, to have different tools for, you have a different tool to write your code, you have a different tool to manage your issues, to submit pull requests, to merge requests, a different tool to manage your artifacts, a different tool to, at almost every stage of your software development, instead of you to need a different tool, GitLab serves as a complete DevOps platform, right from you thinking of an idea, discussing it with your teammates, straight to security and monitoring, real-time monitoring of your application. Everything can be done within GitLab, reducing the need for you to manage different SLAs around, and also having to incur much cost in maintaining all the different components that it's making your infrastructure work. And one thing that most applications tend to struggle with is the integration between all of them. So with GitLab, everything is in one place, and you can just install it or use the SaaS version and life becomes easy for you. We also support continuous everything. Now we have continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. Everything is inbuilt into GitLab. Now, and in terms of features, GitLab has grown to contain almost anything you need within different stages of development. And we've broken those stages into manage, plan, create, verify, package, secure, release, configure, monitor, and protect. We'll be seeing some of this in our demo, but a couple of them are much more advanced and things that you might only need in an enterprise environment. But the part I want to mention is the verify stage and the package stage. If you look at the verify stage here, you will notice right from we talk about continuous integration. That means anytime you need to test your code, you need to make sure all the pushes that were done by your team or you yourself is tested and you have adequate test storage. Everything necessary down to running security analysis on your code or secrecy detection. Quite a lot of issues that happen lately is where you see employees mistakenly pushing secrets to the Git repository, or in one way or the other, passwords get leaked out or something. GitLab helps you to be able to identify when someone mistakenly pushes a secret. So that way you are able to have much more secure and robust environment. I'll be sharing this slide so that you can subsequently at the end, so that you can be able to go through every part of this subsequently. Then I'll be moving to the GitLab Flow. Now, Git itself, it's a very robust platform, and other code version control systems we have like SVN, like Mercurial, everyone has the flow that people can use to be able to work. And Git also comes with its own. But Git's method of working is kind of complicated. Then GitHub came up with the idea of branching, working in a feature-driven environment, that you have your main branch within Git, which is mostly master, and most people are renaming it to main now. Then anytime you want to add in new features or make modifications, instead of working on the master, you create a branch out of your Git repository, do all the necessary work you want to do, then merge back into the master. That's what most people have adopted now, and GitHub itself has promoted. But GitLab takes it a bit further, because that flow that GitHub introduced didn't take into consideration the fact that it's not necessarily what is in your master that always goes straight to your production or whichever environment you have. So instead, we introduced a multi-branch workflow where you can have a specific branch, that anything that goes into that branch, like production, anything going into that branch is what is deployed to your production. So you might end up having a different set of code or different set of work in your master branch or any other feature branch you have. But anytime you are ready to deploy or you have a production ready code, you can simply merge it into the production branch and it gets deployed to production. Now, then what if you have different environments? You have staging, you probably have testing, you might have Canary also, different stages completely down to production. So GitLab, one of the flow we are promoting is where you use branches for different environments that you have. It might be branch, it might be using tags, so that anytime code is written and probably you want to test, you merge what is in your master into a pre-production branch. It might be staging. Let's call it staging here. So you do all the necessary testing and everything you need to do on the code to make sure, okay, we've tested it, everything is fine. Then you merge from the staging branch to the production branch. So that way you are able to isolate different code in different environments, and it's easier for you to revert between the different branches or even cherry pick certain features. Probably there's a bunch of commits that have been done within a particular branch, and you simply want just a commit to fix a bug or anything. You can cherry pick from one branch to the other, which makes things a lot easier and less complicated. Then you can decide to do release based flow, where you can tag certain parts of your master branch for certain releases. Probably you are not pushing to production, you are releasing your software as specific versions. So you can have, from the same code base, be able to tag certain parts of your code or certain branches as this is version 2 stable, this is version 3, this is version 4. And probably there are some bugs that were introduced earlier on in the code and it affects different branches. You can cherry pick within all of them, which makes working with Git and GitLab itself much more easier. Now, at GitLab, there is not official, but there's kind of 11 rules of the GitLab flow that our CEO Sid wrote about once. The first one is, when working with Git, you don't commit straight to master. Always use a feature branch for new things or new features you want to introduce. Master becomes like the single source of truth, that it's at the end of the day that things goes back to master. And you should make sure, and no time should any push or any commit that is done just be accepted. Everything should be fine. Testing should be done on almost every commit, not just the ones that are going into master, but every one on any branch that is created. Then code reviews before merging to master. Yes, sometimes you can trust. It's not just enough to just trust the code written by anyone. It is very important that anytime a new feature is being introduced or code, a team member has created a commit, to make sure it is probably reviewed by a teammate or someone else that is senior to make sure the code is okay and intact. And you can also do deployments automatically, either based on branch or a tag, or if you are not doing automatic deployments, you can do delivery also by maybe specific branches or tags. Then it should be that you set the tags, your team members or you as a company should set the tags for your features directly, not the CI automatically tagging. And releases are advisable to be based as tags, not specific branches. So that way you can be able to tag specific sections of your code without creating branches completely. And it is advisable that everybody starts from the master. It shouldn't be that anyone that's just coming new to the team can just pick off any branch and just work off the branch, but start from master, work on your code or any feature that you want to do. Once you are done, you merge back into master. Master serves, like I said earlier, the single source of truth. Now, it is also advisable that you fix bugs in your master first, then back to the branches. So that way, since master is your single source of truth, you can easily, everyone within the team can have an updated code base. And most of us are fond of probably just writing cryptic or commit messages that we just want to just commit and move on. But it's more, every time it's advisable that whenever we are writing commit message, it should reflect the intent, the reason why that commit is being done, so that when the Git history or the code base is being reviewed, we can know the reason why this change was introduced, instead of having to go to the code itself to understand what exactly is going on. Now, that's about Git Flow using GitLab. Then the next one is the Gitlab Workflow itself. GitLab, like I said earlier, is a system that encompasses the entire development lifecycle, right from you coming up with an idea of what you want to do, to completing it, to releasing it to your users or deploying to production. It starts from the GitLab repository itself. You write your code, you commit, then to GitLab CI. GitLab CI is that stage where every code you write or you've written is tested. Now, it's tested not just for against your test suites, but the different test requirements. For example, license compliance. It might be that your company, due to certain reasons or due to some legal reasons, don't work with certain licenses, maybe MIT or any other licenses out there. So it can be implemented that your company don't want any library or dependencies that are using certain licenses. Within GitLab CI or your test stage, you can be able to identify which test licenses have been introduced and remove them out. Now, you can also implement it in such a way that you want to be able to review these changes that have been made before it actually gets to probably staging or production itself. There's what we call review app. Review app gives you like a preview of your application itself so that you can see the change that has been made before you as a superior or as someone that has merge permissions clicks on the merge button to accept the changes that have been introduced. Now, we also have what we call a security dashboard. After all the, for your security team or quality assurance team, after all the security scanning, analysis, and everything that's been done, we provide a dashboard where your security team can see, okay, what are the different infringements or the mistakes or the secrets that were exposed and so on within this particular project. And issues can be created that, okay, this needs to be fixed or this issue has been detected. That way, an issue can easily be identified. A new merge request can be created to fix it. It goes to testing again. If it's accepted, it gets merged, and so on. Then, at this stage, GitLab CD, it can either be continuous delivery or continuous deployment, where you can either set it that anytime all tests have been accepted, the code should just be deployed automatically, which is continuous deployment. Or you need to manually intervene that, okay, you still want to see it, even if everything is fine, before a deployment is done, and you manually deploy yourself. This is like a 30,000 feet overview of the workflow itself. Now, from the developer perspective or a team member perspective, it starts with an issue. Okay, maybe there is a new request. For these our websites, we need to add this image. It starts with an issue. An issue has been created. Okay, this is what needs to be done. Some platform call it tickets and so on. This is what needs to be done. These are the requirements. A lot of discussions happens. comments, and so on. Now, once a decision has been made, a merge request is created. GitHub calls it pull request. In the merge request, the developer writes his code, does everything, then push. All the changes that have been made to the code can be reviewed within the merge request. The merge request can also be linked to the issue that, okay, this merge request actually resolves or closes this particular issue that has been raised. Now, once all the changes has been accepted, the next thing is for CI to run or run all the necessary test suites to check the code that has been written to make sure it meets compliance and everything is fine. Now, once that is done, like I explained earlier, there's a review app where we can see a preview of the application. Then within the review app, the essence of the review app is for teammates or team members or you as a person to be able to see what the application looks like and confirm, is this change that has been implemented exactly what was expected, or there are still some changes that need to be done, different reviews happening. Once that is completed and every change that has been made has been approved, the code is merged and the CD, continuous delivery or continuous deployment pipeline, starts. If it is continuous deployment, once the merge request has been approved and merged, it automatically goes and deploys to production at this stage. Now, you can also decide to implement monitoring at the last stage where GitLab can be monitoring your application, probably for load or for performance and other things. And if there are certain issues or certain problem that arises, an issue can be introduced. That is why the line goes back here again. When a new problem is discovered, a new issue is created, straight to merge requests all over again, and the circle continues. So I don't know if anyone has any question at this stage before I proceed. Any question? Okay, awesome. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Autodevops. Now, most times, almost all of us have been or are in this scenario where you have a new project, you are writing probably PHP code, you have to write your test suites, you have to write your CI/CD pipeline, specify exactly what needs to be done, what security checks need to be done, everything. You have to make sure everything is prepared beforehand. But GitLab has this feature called Autodevops. What Autodevops does is we've created some predefined templates of jobs using our GitLab CI scripts to automatically just help you run your application through all the different life cycle, right from testing your code to building your code if it needs to be built probably into a Docker image, to reviewing it, to doing dynamic analysis testing, to publishing it to production, to testing it for performance and everything necessary. You don't need to set up any CI. You don't need to do anything. All you need to do is just to push your code and it does everything. Now, Autodevops is basically just a couple of templates, GitLab CI/CD templates that have already been prepared in such a way that they are language agnostic, not tied to a particular language. And it uses cloud native build packs. Build packs are libraries that can analyze your code to understand what language is it written in, what are the necessary test suites that are needed to test that application, and what is needed to build the application. So we use build packs within Autodevops to test your application, to identify first in what language is it written. Okay, it's in Ruby. Okay, definitely Ruby requires a gem file, it requires a rake file and so on. It looks for them, it checks if there's a test that needs to be run against your code, it runs the test, then it builds your application. If it's Ruby, it knows where the necessary entry points or everything necessary to build your application, it builds it before starting a deployment. So most of our demo will revolve around GitLab Autodevops to show you how idea to production actually works. Now, Autodevops includes all of this automatically. That means it automatically builds your application, it automatically tests code quality, static application security testing. Every single thing is done automatically. How it does this is, like I mentioned earlier, the templates we created templates for each of these stage, and it runs a suite of commands against your code based on the type of code you've written. And the one beautiful thing about Autodevops is the templates are provided publicly for you to be able to customize to your taste, because no matter how agnostic a bunch of scripts are, they might not necessarily meet or suit your environment. So you can easily pick up any parts of the Autodevops script, edit it to your taste, and do whatever it is you like. I'll be showing you what some of these scripts looks like when we get to demo. Now, I think the next thing is for us to proceed to a demo. Before the demo, I would like to ask again if any one of us have any question. Okay, sorry, can you hear me? I just saw a sign as if I lost network a bit.
Just for a sec, your sound was away.
Oh, okay, probably it was my network connection. Google just showed me I was offline for a bit. Yeah, so basically I was asking if anyone has any question based on everything I've said here before we get to our demo. And in the demo, I'm looking at a scenario where we will have a couple of labs and we'll do it interactively. I'll do certain parts of it, and like Francisca mentioned last time, we want it to be like a workshop format where once I do them, you all can also experiment, do it, then we'll proceed to each of the stage. That was why I made my intro short so that we can have more time to walk through the different activities. And the things we will do is we'll integrate our account with Google Cloud accounts with GitLab. This is so we can enable GitLab to automatically create Kubernetes clusters without we having to do it ourselves. Then we'll install the different components that GitLab needs to be able to deploy applications to the cluster. And we'll be using this sample Ruby application to see how you can use Autodevops to deploy an application straight to the Kubernetes cluster without you having to do any configuration. Then the last thing we'll be seeing is we'll make edits to the application and see how the deployment is done using the GitLab workflow itself. So any question? Let me show you the GitLab Autodevops script. Okay, it seems as if we are all on the same page. I can simply proceed with the rest of the presentation, but let me get the Autodevops template first and show you what it looks like before we proceed. Now, the GitLab CI environment works with YAML files. Mostly it comes as a .gitlab-ci.yaml file. And instead of you having to create yours, what Autodevops does is it automatically includes this particular one into your environment, and it already has almost everything you need to deploy your application. See, for each of the stage, it includes templates for each of the stage that you require within your job. And if you probably need to tweak or to edit any of these templates at any stage, you can clone this particular project or come here and copy any of the CI file and make changes to it. You see, let's say, for example, you want to change the, let me get, let's say, for example, you want to change how the CI builds your application. You can simply come to this particular CI file, make changes. Probably you have some custom way you want your own application to be built. You make the changes here and it goes straight to work as you please. Okay, back to our presentation. We have a simple Ruby application that you can use to test Autodevops to see how it works. And it's basically a Docker file with a small Ruby application that just says hello world. The hello world that almost all of us are, I guess all of us are used to. What I'll be doing here is I'll be starting a new project. I don't have it already. Then I will now integrate that project with my Google Cloud account, install the Kubernetes cluster, install all the necessary applications that is needed, then we'll deploy the application. Now, the first thing I'll be doing is to take a copy of this project to my account. Now, this is mine. In the menu here now, we'll have the operations menu, then Kubernetes. We're using Kubernetes here because it's much more easier to integrate a Kubernetes cluster with GitLab and run your application. Now, there are two options. We have, you can either integrate it with a cluster that you have a certificate for, if you are adding it yourself, or allow GitLab to create it, or you use a GitLab agent that is already within a cluster to do the integration. Now, let's use the first one, which will be easier for us. There are two options. You can either use it with an EKS cluster, Amazon EKS cluster, or a Google GKE. I'll be using a GKE in this instance. It will ask me for my account. I have a series of accounts here. Now, automatically, GitLab will, I hope my font size is not too small. Let me increase my font size. Yep. Now, here, I'll be specifying a name. Let me name it. I'll just name it this way. Then you can specify an environment scope. Maybe you want multiple Kubernetes clusters to be created, one for staging, one for production, or one for dev, however your environment is. But here I want almost all of my environments to use the same cluster. So I'll be leaving the wildcard there. Then if you have several projects within Google Cloud accounts, you can specify which one you should use. Then if you've not set up if you've not used Google Cloud before, you can use the link here. I think it's attached to, I don't know if the campaign is still running, where you can get some credits towards your Google Cloud account. And you can start with a free trial. If you've not, I doubt if any of us still have a free trial, since probably most of you will have tried Google Cloud before. But you can create an account if you don't have one already. Then the zone, I think Amsterdam is EU West 4. Let me look for Amsterdam West 4. Yep, just select A. Then how many nodes do you want to create in your Kubernetes cluster? We all know that Kubernetes, probably for those that are not aware of what Kubernetes is, Kubernetes is simply a distributed environment where you can run your applications. It's composed of nodes, which are machines. Here, we can specify how many nodes we want to use within our cluster. And I will leave it at default, 3 nodes, then just leave the standard here. We are not using Anthos is a feature that Google is providing. We won't be using that. Then here we can specify for GitLab to manage the cluster. That means GitLab will create all the namespaces, all the service accounts, everything that is necessary for your applications to run within the cluster. So this is also useful if you have a group within your company, a GitLab group, and you have several projects. And probably due to cost or whatever reason, you don't want to create a lot of clusters. You want to have a single cluster for all of your projects. So GitLab, you can enable GitLab to manage the cluster, and it creates namespaces like a specific section, restricted section for each of your projects to run or to do all their deployments without affecting any other project. Now, also, you can leave this option enables to create for your production environment. If you're using a single cluster for your production environment, for staging and any other one, a namespace is created for each. Then I'll click on create. So GitLab connects to Google Cloud through the API to create all the necessary Kubernetes cluster for us. Is any of us trying this, or do we have any questions at this stage? Any challenges in doing this, or am I too fast? I guess
no, it's really quite clear.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this would probably take a few minutes. Let me take you to the GitLab templates here to see some of the ways we've already created that can make it much more easier for you to be able to use Autodevops. Now, one of the ways I was explaining earlier is within our build templates here, we use cloud native build packs. Now, I think this is the website buildpacks.io, if I'm correct. Yes. So, and basically what this does is basically it uses build packs is a phenomenon or a technology that Heroku started with, where they don't want you to worry about how you build your application or how you test your application. You should just write your code, you push them, and everything should be deployed automatically. So they have a suite of libraries that can enable you to test a language. Maybe you have a team environment where people write different services or a service-oriented architecture. and people are free to use different languages to write their applications, but you want to have like a central place where all these deployments are done. So it's going to be hectic for you to have to provide the different tooling and different resources for each team to be able to work with. But when using build packs can help automatically identify in which language a particular project is written. If it has any test that needs to be run, it does it, and it can help you build images of your applications and deploy. Let me check on this. Yep, it has been created. Now, this has automatically created the GKE cluster for us. And here we can still specify what environment scope we want it to use. And here, if we have a custom domain, probably you have a domain you've created for your company, or you just want to specify a domain. This is necessary when your application is being deployed, so that you can have, and also for review apps, you want to see what your application looks like before you push it out there to production. It's necessary for you to have a base domain. Now, we also provide an environment here for you to monitor the health of your cluster. See how things are running. It's not enabled yet because I've not installed any monitoring application on it, like Prometheus. Then we provide you a section here where you can install things like Ingress, which handles all the traffic or routing within your cluster, a SAT manager for SSL certificates, Prometheus for monitoring, and also a GitLab Runner. GitLab itself, if you are using gitlab.com, gives you certain minutes for you to use to run your CI. So if you've run out of it, or you just want to have your own runner, private runner for it that you want to use to run all the jobs for this particular project or your group, you can install a runner also in your cluster, the same cluster. Now let's start by first installing our Ingress. You click install here to take a few seconds. Then it's when you have the IP generated by Ingress, provided by Google automatically, that you can either go to your DNS provider. It might be Google DNS itself, or you're using Route 53, or maybe you're using a free DNS service like NIP, which I'll be using here just to make things a bit easier for us. NIP. So the IP address that's provided for you here is what you will use to go and create the A record, preferably a wildcard record, to make it easier for GitLab to automatically create subdomains for each of the different things it's doing. While this is running. So here there are still a couple of other things that you can deploy to your cluster. We have crossplane. I've not really looked into crossplane, but I know it's probably around microservices. We have Jupyter Hub, we have Knative itself, we have Elastic Stack. You can install it directly from here. We have Fluent D and a lot of other things. So let's look up. Okay, yep, it has already installed Ingress in the cluster, and we have an endpoint. So let me copy here and come to our details .nip.io, then save. Then the next thing, I'll proceed to installing the other components that I need, like I need the SAT manager to create SSL certificate for my services. I need Prometheus to do monitoring, because I want, at the end, once my application is deployed, I want to see how my application is performing. All the different metrics are being recorded. I want to see all of them. Then I'll also install a runner. I will not be using the GitLab runners itself. then I think that's basically, I don't need everything else here, basically. But if your application needs it, you can just install them straight from here. So mostly, one caveat here is when you run all of these things, you can still go into the cluster, probably if you are familiar with Kubernetes itself, to probably make changes to, or for one reason or the other, you want to tweak or make changes to how some of these things are behaving in your cluster. You can log into your cluster directly and make changes to them, or install other things, still use the cluster for other things, since the cluster is within your account and you can always log in to administer it. Yep. I like taking it stage by stage and not all at the same time. While it's running, how is everybody managing with the partial lockdown in the country? I've been staying home for more than 48, 72 hours at a time since I came back to the Netherlands.
Hello?
Hi.
Everyone on mute? Is everything clear? Is it possible to follow along, or are we missing something?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Just unmute.
Okay.
Was wondering, Abu Bakr, I missed it. How do you link, does the Kubernetes cluster spin up on the GitLab account and then GitLab bills you for it? Or do you fill in an API key for your own Google Cloud Platform account? So it spins up on your account.
Okay, yeah, I think it's probably because I've been logged in already. That was why you didn't see the stage. That particular stage where I clicked on Google GKE, it asked me to log in, and you saw me selecting probably you might have noticed me selecting a Google account to use. My own Google Cloud account has already been set. So I had to select a project, a Google Cloud project. So that Google Cloud project is already existing. If you don't, GitLab will ask you to go and probably create a project, add your billing information and everything so that Google Cloud can bill you. So we are just serving as an interface to make it easier for you to create all these things. But Google Cloud bills you for anything you do on the Google Cloud side.
Yeah, okay. So basically you hook up your own account to GitLab and they will use the API key to create all the resources needed.
Yes. So the last thing I'm installing here is the GitLab Runner. So it's almost the same process if you want to use EKS. It's just that you can't log in the way I just logged in to provide GitLab with access to my Google Cloud account. For EKS, you have to go and create some roles and permissions and other things within your Amazon AWS account. Feed all the credentials and all the other details into GitLab as necessary. Once you've done that, GitLab will now have access to be able to create the cluster. Yeah, my runner has been installed. I think everything I need here has been set. The next thing is to go back to my project. Nothing is still happening. My CI is not running. It means I need to go into settings, then CI/CD, and here enable Autodevops. By default, it's not enabled because we don't want suddenly for everybody's projects to just start running and crashing their runners. So that's why it's disabled by default. Once you enable, you now select the strategy you want for the deployment. Should it be continuous deployment straight to production, or you want to time it, incremental rollout, or you want to do continuous delivery? There should be a manual process to actually doing the deployment. So for our use case here, I will leave it at the default, which is continuous deployment to production. Once I click save here, GitLab will now automatically start the initial pipeline for us. And you will notice it started with series of jobs. So if I click on running, now it starts first by attempting to build my application. Then in parallel, it's checking a lot of other things, the code quality, it's running license scanning, it's running tests against my application. So it's also using, let me see, is it using my runner, the one I created? Yep. Yeah, this looks like it's running, it's using the runner I asked it to install. So I'm showing you this job log to show an example of where it uses cloud native build packs to actually build our application. Let me see, can I see where it does it here? Okay, it's actually building. Yeah, let me go back a bit and check. Reload. Yeah, I think it automatically detected it's a Ruby application and built it without necessarily going through the effort. Yeah, but basically it has built the application at this stage. Then it's running code quality. It's scanning it for it's scanning the container built at the build stage here for any security vulnerability or anything. And the one I like most in this stage is the secret detection here. Probably when I'm making an edit to it, I will try to introduce a vulnerability and see, so that we can see how it handles that particular scenario. Maybe by you putting a password within your code, or you forgot and you pushed a .env file, the secret detection stage will automatically check and let you know. Now, once it's done with the code quality and the license scanning here, it goes to setting up the Dast environment. In the review stage, we have the build, test, review, Dast, production, and performance up to the cleanup stage. Now, while this is running, we can come to our operations here and see the different metrics of things that are happening within the Kubernetes cluster that we created. Okay, I think the metrics are not live yet. Let's go back and see the pipeline and wait for deployment a bit to be live. Let's see what code quality is checking. Okay. So most thought I muted my Skype. Sorry for that. It's my family calling.
Not now, Mom. I'm busy.
Yeah, let me check which other pipeline. It's it's almost done. So any other question before these two pipelines complete? License scanning. Yeah, it basically checks any license that we've provided or any dependency that we have for probably some license that we or you as a company don't currently support.
Yeah, can you go into depth on one of the for example, to see what you can configure? Are they all in Ruby, like you mentioned, or?
No, it's just my project that is Ruby my code, but you can specify with a configuration the kind of license you want. Sorry, let me get for you more information. For example, like license scanning. I don't remember offhand how the configuration is done, but here is the, off the top of my head, I would say you, if I remember vividly, you provide like a small configuration of the kind of licenses you support. Then when the scanning is happening, it uses that. But I don't currently have more information about it off the top of my head, but I can share this link with you for you to probably review it in more detail. Let me look.
Okay, is there also an overview of all these jobs you can run? Because, for example, we often use SonarQube for code analysis scanning. Could you plug that in there as well, or?
I think there's certain security scans that can be run. Most of them are provided in, let me grab the overview of our entire security scanning that we do. Yeah, GitLab Secure here. So there are certain instances where you can configure what kind of test it should run and what it should use, depending on what stage. But we've tried as much as possible to cover as much language as possible. Let's say in the SAS testing here, we support several languages and also different tools that can be used for the scanning. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, one more. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no problem.
The scans are pretty clear, I guess, like the type of scans you can do and what languages are supported. Are these all these scanning tools, are those things you guys at GitLab created, or are they standalone open source tooling that you guys integrate into GitLab?
They are standalone open source tooling that we integrated.
Ah, yeah, I see Claire and
yeah,
for container scanning, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, if you as you can see here, for the different languages, most of the tools are tools that are publicly available either on GitHub or certain projects online.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that was definitely answering my question.
Okay. I've also dropped the link in chat to these pages for you all to review at your own leisure time.
Thanks.
Okay. The UV stage is complete. It's doing the dynamic application security tests also. And I think at that stage, what it's basically testing, instead of just the code itself, it also needs to test how it responds to different scenarios of dynamic request or other attacks like CSRF and other things. So let me see if it's done, if someone's done with that also. While it's running, we can ask any other questions we have. Is anyone trying it now, or we are mostly just following? Now, as you can see here, it's running several requests through proxies to the application to check for different things. And if you remember the other time I created an NIP domain name with my IP address, see, it's dynamically creating certain subdomains within the application to run some of those tests. It's scanning for headers, scanning for a lot of things to make sure the application is fully secure. Then let me reload the page. What job is currently running? Yep, it's now deploying to production. Finally, all tests has been run. It now needs to push our application to live.
So Abubakar, in the beginning you showed a YAML file.
Yeah.
Blueprint for the pipeline, I understood.
Yeah.
Are you always working in the user interface, or is it also easy to work in the YAML directly?
Now, if you have any customization that you want to introduce, like let's say for example, okay, do you mean if you want to customize the pipeline for yourself, the Autodevops for yourself, or just working generally?
No, if you want to adjust the pipeline, yeah, for your project.
Okay, yeah, you can clone the project. So I think in one live environment that I've used it before, I cloned the whole YAML file, put them in a project that is central in the instance, GitLab instance. Then anytime I need it, I simply include it in the CI file for the project I want to use them for, so that multiple projects can benefit from this YAML file that I've customized. And once you've done that once, you don't, since it's general to your application, you don't necessarily need to go and edit it every time. But it entirely depends on your use case.
So you could do it both ways. You can just import the YAML or copy it from another project, and then the user interface is updated.
Yes.
As a result of it, and then you can either do it in the YAML file directly or in the user interface.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's doing all the necessary Kubernetes deployments, creating a service, the stateful sets, running anything necessary if I have production, a database. Okay, it's creating an ingress service here. And yep, application should be accessible. It has deployed my application and it's telling me that my application should be accessible at this URL. So if I open the URL, yep, we have the hello world here. We have the hello world here. So our application is live, running. Then let's see which stage of the pipeline. Okay, everything has run now. The next thing we can check is our security dashboard. Was there any vulnerability that was seen? None. Then we can also go to operation and see metrics, the different metrics from our cluster. Now, as you can see here, we can see memory usage, core usage, and the different things from the cluster. All these are being taken live from the Kubernetes cluster. Now, let's now go back to our code, make some change. Maybe let's use the GitLab workflow itself. Now, someone comes and say, okay, I have an issue. The text of website should be changed to Dutch. Now, I assign it to myself. I put any label if it is necessary, and change the language of the website. For example, I submit an issue, and probably a developer sees this. Okay, I can work on this. It simply goes, creates a merge request, new merge request. We don't have any branches yet, so I can come to the repository here from the master. Sorry, branches. I want to create a new branch from master and name it language change. Create branch. Then from the new branch, I want to create a merge request. Make it a draft because I don't have any change yet. And I can say it closes. Let me see. Now I'm trying to reference the issue that I created here, so that when I merge, this particular project, this particular merge request, it should automatically close my issue. Now, submitting. Then within GitLab, we have what we call the Web IDE. I can automatically launch from this merge request that I want to make a change. Let's review the rig file. What does it do? It has a test file, and in the AppSec, it's basically testing true against true for the purpose of this demo. And in our server file, in our gem file, what do we have? Just mini test and rig, everything is fine. Then for the purpose of this demo, I want to create a .env file and just add some things to it, test equal to test, for example. Then in my, let me add, commit to language change, add .env file. Then in my server file here, I want to change what it says to the outside world. So the body should just be, is my spelling correct?
You need an extra A.
Extra A.
No, the last one is allemaal, double
Okay.
A.
Okay,
And
extra
then drop
L,
the S.
right?
No, an A.
An A.
No S.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
That's
Bedankt.
correct. Great, bedankt.
Okay, yeah, we've changed the text it says and changed greeting to Dutch. Then we commit this also. Now our pipeline is running. Let's see. Okay, we have two pipelines. So let me go to project here and see CI/CD pipelines. I should have committed only once, but no problem. Let me stop this one from running, and yeah, let me stop this one also from running so that we can see the test that this and not waste too much time. Now, my test failed. Why did this one fail? Let's see. This was what I wanted to show earlier. You see here it's using build pack to automatically detect the code, and here it's able to detect that it's a Ruby application, and it downloads all the necessary dependencies and other things to use to test our application. And it tested here, and it found test. Yep, it found something in my .env file. Now let me go back. Did secret detect anything? It didn't. Maybe it felt my test is not a secret. So let me go and fix it. Oh, sorry. Repository branches, language change. Basically, let me remove the .env file so that we don't waste too much time. Remove .env file. Don't create a new merge request. We already have one. Commit. And since the way GitLab CI runs, in this our initial pipeline here, because everything in this stage has to pass for it to go to review, this will no longer proceed. So I think to save us time, I will just cancel the rest of it. Since we already have one that has failed, the rest will not proceed because everything, the review depends on everything here to pass. Now, let me go to pipeline for the new one we have. We will notice a difference here. Here, we don't have production. It's because we are working in a different branch and not master. So what it will do, it knows that, okay, we are testing, if we are creating a feature and testing it out. And if everything goes fine, we will now match to master. So it's not, that's why the production stage is not here. We don't take all the time. Any question? I think we are almost at the end of our time. We're supposed to stop 7:30, right, Francisca? Am I right?
Yeah, something like that. If there are not too many questions, we can squeeze up the time a little.
Okay, no problem. I think this is the only edit I'll be moving before merging to master. So while it's running, do we have any questions? Okay, the test passed this time. Secret detection passed. Everything is passing. It's running a total of 12 jobs. And even when you are working within your own environment or using your own CI scripts and not Autodevops, it's always necessary, like we mentioned earlier, that for every change, for everything, because it can take a single change to break your code or to introduce something that will be disastrous to your code. Tests are always necessary for every commit that comes before it goes to master. And one of the benefits of the security testing that we have for Autodevops, it tries as much as possible to run all the different suites of tests that there is. I think I've made a mistake once where I was writing a Ruby application and I wouldn't use env file in GitLab itself, but I had an a.env file to test on my local system. And at one point or the other, I think I forgot and I pushed. I added it to my git ignore, but I don't know why it still went. Probably, maybe at a particular stage I had already committed before doing git ignore. So the whole .env file went live, and I had to figure out exactly how to clean up the project, because the project was public, so that other people won't have access to the secrets. So at the end of the day, I had to go look for all the accounts that I had the secrets there, go change or recycle the tokens and secrets to be safe. Then fully implemented secret detection on the project, so that anytime any secrets at all, since I'll be using GitLab CI/CD variables, which is if you don't have a dedicated, maybe like vaults, HashiCorp Vault server to manage your secrets or any other solution, you can add your secrets in a GitLab CI variable here, and it will be provided to your CI/CD environment whenever it wants to do anything. Probably, I once worked on a project where after all the necessary tests are done on a PHP project, if it wants to deploy it to a server, it uses SCP to just move them. But we need to configure SSH, we need to configure a lot of other things. To do that, all the secrets that are needed for the CI to run properly, you can add them as CI variables here. Let me go and check if our job fine. Come on, just license remaining. Come on. Now, one thing that will happen here at this stage is we'll see how review apps function. Review apps is you being able to see. Sorry, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, I don't know. It's Google Apps that notified me now that I went offline. Thank you. I don't know what is wrong with my internet. Probably Zigo is having one or two issues.
I wanted to ask, because for this demo, you now use the editor in GitLab.
Yes.
So there you have the checkbox to create a merge request.
Yeah.
But how would you instruct to get the merge request if you are using just regular Git from your own command line?
Yeah. Once you do your commit and you do git push to GitLab, and GitLab notices that you are working in a branch or you've pushed a new branch, we will automatically in your command line return a link for you to click on to create a merge request automatically. So once you click on the link, it takes you to the comparison page. Okay, you have this new branch and you want to merge to master or whichever branch, then you click on continue and it presents you with the merge request page where you can specify the title, description, and every other thing. So you will see a link in your command line to click on to automatically create a merge request.
Nice.
Okay, this is done. Let's see what stage is running at this time. Now, one thing about having a merge request is, where's my merge request? Oh, I think I did something wrong. Let me see. I was creating a merge request to the upstream project and not my master. I think I missed that. Let me see. No. Yeah, I was creating a merge request to my upstream instead of just my own branch. Yeah, well, it's deploying here. This is going to waste our time. Let me close this. Close merge request. Sorry for that. And go back to the main project. Should have looked well before I just submitted the merge request. So it assumed probably I wanted to update my upstream. Let me create a new merge request. Language change, compare, yep, closes. Oh, okay, no wonder it was not showing me earlier. Oh, I think I'm making the same mistake again. Just to mine, yep. Now, I'm asking it to close this. Let me assign it to myself and submit. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, my pipeline is still running actually, since it's still on the same source branch that the pipeline started on, the same language change branch. So if you notice something here in my MR, this is my merge request. From within the merge request, I can see different tests and checks that it's doing on my application. Now, here, you notice that it has deployed it to review language change. This is an environment it created automatically for my review. And I can view my application first before actually deploying. As you can see here, you see it says Hoi Alibaba. Now, if you look at the URL, it created a special subdomain just for my review. Let me go back to my MR and explain further. At this stage, at the review stage of my application, it automatically deployed my application to a particular pod, I guess, just for me to review, and created the necessary services and URL, just for me to be able to review the application and see what the application looks like. Not to production this time. So I've seen it, everything is fine, and the whole thing is okay. It's going to still do the dynamic application security testing on my review to make sure the whole changes that we've made, we've not introduced anything that will make up the application break. So from this same place, I can see all the necessary reports or other reports, like to manage licenses, to view full reports, or to see any potential vulnerabilities in the project. As you can see here, security scanning detected 2 potential vulnerabilities. I can expand to see what's the issue. OS command injection in rake. I can review them and also review this security one that is specified here. There are potential vulnerability. For our use case here, we don't necessarily need it to just proceed to merge the branch. And remember, it closes my issue, the issue I created earlier. It closes it because I mentioned in the description of the merge request that it should close the issue once the merge request is merged. Now, let me click on, I also selected that it should delete the source branch since I won't need it again. Delete it when you are done. So now a new pipeline starts. And as you can see here, just from within my merge request, I can see the pipeline for my review pipeline. Then I do the merge, and the new pipeline for deploying to production, since I'm merging to master, also starts, and I'm seeing it here without having to jump around different pages. Let me see my issue here. The issue is gone because it has been closed by the merge request. You see, it shows here that this merge request was done, and this was the one I created earlier and was linked to the other project when I confused the names. So it even mentioned in which merge request was this issue mentioned, a commit that was done in regards to this issue, and this issue was closed via this particular merge request. So if we go back to the merge request here, we'll see our pipeline still running and going through. If you notice here, there's a difference in the pipeline. Okay, our review apps here has been deleted because we are done with it and we are now deploying our application to production. If you remember earlier, it said deployed to review language change. But here now, we are deploying to production. So, and once we are done, from here, we can still get a link to view our application. If we check it currently, it should still be hello world. After the whole pipeline is done to become animal. Do we have any question? This is the end of our demo. While we wait, I'm not sure you follow us, be patient enough to wait till the end of the pipeline. But while we wait, this is the end of our session. In case any question or any comments that any one of us have.
No questions. I think you were very clear then.
Okay, thank you. Is any of us using GitLab at work? Okay, there's a question in the comment. I think Chris is asking, how would you go about setting up test stage with 2 running containers like app, MySQL? I tried with Docker and Docker, but with that, I need to wait for MySQL container to be ready before the app container. Is there a way to handle it better? I think most times, probably just like you already know, you specify the MySQL as a service, which still uses Docker in Docker, and it has to wait for the service to be ready before the application can do anything. I can't think of anything at the moment, but probably I will share it with my teammate internally and get back to you within I don't know if you can share your email address somewhere, or if you are in the Meetup group, I can share a response with you. Let me copy the question aside, then answer your second question. Now, your second question is the other thing I try to do to call a third-party API to run additional tests on an app. That API, it's Ghost Inspector, actually needs a publicly exposed IP address. So is there a way to get app IP from Runner? That's interesting. It depends on how your runner is configured. If, let's say, for example, you are using a Docker-based runner, that's going to be difficult because except you are, that's going to be difficult with a Docker-based runner. But if you are using SSH-based runner, that's where the your runner itself is running all the jobs within the machine itself and not using Docker images. I think that's the only way you can probably get an IP address. But ordinarily, I'm not sure, except if let me also look back for you on this. But off the top of my head, it's using GitLab, because GitLab is built to just GitLab automatically just creates the machines using we use Google Cloud. A Google Cloud VM is automatically created. Your job runs, and the machine is they are ephemeral, so it's lost after a while. So I'm not sure the IP address are in any way provided or made accessible to the So sorry, if I may ask, is it the Ghost inspector that needs the IP address, or it's within your CI that you will call out? Hello, Chris. Hello. Okay. Probably one way to probably do it is to use I'll help you investigate and share more details with you, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking that if there's a way you can use Docker machine, if that is still obtainable, then probably when the images you use to run your jobs, we have some ports exposed, if that is supported by Ghost Inspector. I've not used it before, so that when you are running your job, you can call I've forgotten this website address you call to get the IP address of the server you are running on, icanhazip.org. It tells you the IP address of the server that you are using. Then you can feed that IP address to the Ghost Inspector. Or maybe for your specific use case of Ghost Inspector, you can have a dedicated runner that will allow communication from outside. But I'll definitely investigate. This is an interesting use case. I'll investigate and share more details with you. What's the best way to get the information to you? Sharing it with Francisca, or probably sharing it sharing it in the Meetup page. What's the best way to get a response to you? Thank you, Awad, for joining, and we look forward to sharing more with you. Yeah, I can Hazip. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you.
Christian H on Meetup. Definitely, I will get the necessary answers and share them with you. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Thais? I know J is Y in Dutch, so probably it's Thais. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
It was a nice first acquaintance to GitLab.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So I think I'll be stopping the recording now. Thank you very much for everyone that have joined. I look forward to seeing you next time.